Hi everyone, my name's Tom. I run the payments business here at Tink. Welcome to this webinar. Today we are going to dive into the world of invoice payments. Invoice payments are an absolutely enormous use case for open banking in Europe, and we are very fortunate because we are joined by two absolute experts. Just before we dive in, let's have a quick note on terms, shall we? So I imagine today you're going to hear lots of different acronyms, so I'll try and explain a little bit what they are. Tink is an open banking company, so we build our payment services on a service called Payment Initiation Services, PIS, also referred to as account-to-account payments. But in terms of how this goes to market and we talk to consumers, we tend to use the term pay by bank, and you'll probably hear us use all of those terms interchangeably as we get into the discussion today. I want to just introduce, first of all, Mattias and Andreas. Mattias, tell us a bit about yourself.
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you for having us here. My name is Mattias Norén. I'm head of strategy and business development at Strålfors, which basically means I have a kind of chief product officer role, but also handles kind of strategy, innovation, and transformation, basically. And I'm also executive sponsor for what we call Strålfors Way Forward, which is our kind of innovation umbrella initiative where we drive things like this, which is our payment initiative that we're working together with Tink.
Fantastic. All right, and Andreas?
Yeah, my name is Andreas and I work also with the business development, responsible for the Norwegian market. But we work on this project on a Nordic level. So this is really a Norwegian initiative, and that's why we're here.
Fantastic. And Andreas is very lucky. There was a snowstorm in Norway this morning, so we're even luckier to have him with us today. So I've been very excited about this one because PostNord Strålfors is one of our biggest and most important customers here at Tink, and an absolutely enormous driver of invoice volume in the Nordics. In fact, just roughly how many invoices do you guys do now?
I mean, I think we're talking about a couple of 100 million a year, basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're thinking about kind of 27 million people we have in the Nordics, it means that we basically send invoices to all of them quite some times each year, right?
And, and that's pretty big even by European standards.
Exactly.
I mean, always in my head I have a reference number about 100 billion payments made, non-cash payments made in Europe a year, of which I think around a third are invoice payments. If that's around 36 odd billion payments made a year in invoices, and you guys are doing a couple 100 million, that's a pretty substantial share of that overall European market. So exciting stuff. But tell us a bit more then. So the Strålfors business, Mattias, what exactly is it for those that might not be so familiar?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Strålfors, we operate in an industry, we usually call it kind of customer communication management. I mean, basically what we do is that we help the kind of biggest enterprise companies in the Nordics to connect with their customers. So we do that basically with integrating with their systems and ERP solutions and invoicing process, and then we operate with a large number of partners, basically an ecosystem of channel partners that we then can use to distribute it out to the customers. Think of things like banks handle the invoice, think about digital mailboxes, SMS providers, and so on. And basically what we do here is that we provide all of that in one integrating platform that we call the omnichannel platform, basically. It's kind of seamless and provided with a lot of added value services and statistics and intelligence around it, basically.
Nice. And I guess what rough percentage of that invoice market is digital today?
I mean, it's a little bit different between the countries. Overall, I mean, Nordics really likes its invoices, and overall we are quite far on when it comes to digitalization, but it's a bit different. Looking at, for example, kind of Denmark, I would say is probably one of the most digitalized markets in the world, while Sweden and maybe Finland are a little bit behind that. But what was it? Was it like, I think it's like 40 to 50% are physical and the rest digital, something like that.
Okay, nice. So very high share.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, still, I mean, when you kind of thinking about this, I mean, you almost kind of think like everything is digital today, right? So for me, I mean, it's still a surprising amount that you have. That basically means that you have hundreds of millions of invoices still going by paper, right?
Yeah. And so that's actually a great question. So those invoices today, maybe Andreas, one for you, kind of how are those digital invoices getting paid?
It's different in the Nordic countries. So I think that's also why the digitalization rate is quite different. So what we have, like for in Sweden, the Finnish market, you have this called internet bank invoice, which goes directly to your internet bank and you pay it there. But there the connection is per bank, so we need to connect per bank. So the onboarding process is quite difficult. But for the Norwegian market, we have one point for all the internet or e-invoices that you use. And there it's like that you have what you call yes to everyone. So you subscribe in your bank that you say yes to everyone, and then you will get all the e-invoices directly into your bank. So that's something, and that also it tells how many that will actually be subscribed to having it not physical then.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that's fairly unique, isn't it? Is there a solution like that elsewhere in Europe? I kind of think not, right?
I mean, it depends on how you mean. I mean, there's what you call the internet bank. I mean, that's basically the kind of classic e-invoicing setup. And I think if you look at all over the Nordics, I think on the kind of B2B side, this is actually fairly standard. There's a lot of kind of thing going on there on the kind of B2B invoicing setup. But I mean, as for consumers, I think you're right that it's at least not as dominating as it is in the Nordics in the rest of the Europe. Yeah.
And there have also been some Nordic initiatives on this. The P27 was one of the initiatives to connect them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Although the news on P27 doesn't seem to be so good.
No, exactly. I got some. I heard about it. It kind of shows that basically only kind of working with the kind of core banks and so on is maybe not enough, right? Where it kind of really shows that you need to have some alternatives. And not put all the trust there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's the story of payments to some degree in the last. It's very difficult to back winners in payments, right? Because there's always new things out there, and many of them fail for all sorts of different reasons. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
But what about open banking? So, what is it about open banking that you guys find exciting for your business?
Yeah, I mean, let's continue a little bit what you talked about earlier. I mean, talking about kind of how invoicing is done in the Nordic. Basically, as you said, you have physical, you have the kind of e-invoices that are the kind of the dominating channels. And I mean, to be honest, they are physical and digital. But basically, I mean, an e-invoice is basically just a kind of PDF version, kind of sent in an internet bank. It's quite similar, right? Which means that not that much has really happened when it comes to kind of simplicity, usability, customer experience on this kind of on the invoices basically for the end consumers. And looking at other parts of the payment world, I mean, I'm thinking a little bit on kind of the e-commerce side and such. I mean, there's been a lot of progress in recent years, right? I mean, if there's anywhere where kind of smooth version of payment exists, it's there. So we think basically that, I mean, there's a potential to do something here to really kind of take a step forward in simplicity, user experience on this. But to do that, I mean, you need to have some flexibility in how you build the solutions. You can't really be, forced into a kind of a square and doing exactly what the traditional kind of banks say and so on. And here somewhere, I think we kind of thought about, open banking, PSD2 and everything kind of opens the possibilities a little bit. To create something that is actually tailored to the user cases around invoices.
I think also there's one thing extra that's very important for us, and it's a Nordic solution.
Yeah.
Because the Nordic, for us, it's important to have the Nordic footprint. We are developing solution for all the Nordic countries, and that's where the account really comes into place.
Exactly. I mean, basically, we work with the kind of big banks, insurance, energy companies that are usually pan-Nordic or pan-European sometimes, and they buy from us as a kind of one-stop shop supplier. So, as Andreas said, I mean. It needs to work on a...
So you kind of got one consistent payment method which works across all the Nordic countries in the same way, in the same kind of user experience. And actually, of course, more than just the Nordic countries, right? Like if you guys were to start expanding further, it would also work in the same way.
So it's also it's a demand in the market, I think, for the Nordics that you can get this Nordic e-invoice. That's really on the roadmap.
And it's actually a market that people like me, I mean, I'm obviously British, but people from other markets, sometimes it's kind of a bit hard to understand. We don't have anywhere like the digitization of invoices in the UK that you guys have up here, for example. You're very much leading the way in that, for sure. But I guess there's a kind of another point which I think, I've sort of heard PostNord talk about a lot before, which I kind of like, which is this idea that the invoice is a key moment of interaction for the kind of between the merchant and the customer. Talk to me a bit about that and that thinking, because I think you guys are doing some quite cool things there.
Absolutely. I mean, the invoices, as you said, it's a surprising, at least if you're kind of standing from the outside, a surprisingly important touch point in the customer journey for quite a few industries and customers, right?
Sometimes a quite painful touch point.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't say positive touch point. I said a touch point. It can be both ways, right? And this is especially true when you're talking about kind of commodities, right? You know, think about kind of energy companies, insurance, and so on. Of course, it's kind of a lot of, you know, on the onboarding process, you have a lot of kind of touch point with the customers. But after that, I mean, it's something that just kind of continues, and you don't really want to kind of have any problems with it and so on. And what's the touch point left then? I mean, it's basically the invoice, right? And what we've been trying to do here is to kind of, you both kind of make the kind of touch point around the invoice to be smooth and simple, but also, you know, can we create something more about it? Can you use it for customer service reasons? Can you use it in upselling and so on, basically? I don't know, Andreas, if you want to kind of go on any specific examples on what we've done there.
Yeah, can you walk us through that experience, Andreas? Like, if I'm a consumer, what do I actually see in that journey?
Yeah, what we have done with the invoices is, especially when working with the digital invoices, we have this solution where you can interact. So you can have a chat function with it. We have, like, you can, if you want to do a down payment, we can have some way that you can put another amount that you want to pay for. So we want to have, like, the invoice to be interactive. So you can talk both ways. So also the customer support can see if you have some complaints. Okay, he's complaining about this invoice, etc. So we have been working a lot there with the invoices. So it will make it more flexible for the user. So it will be just a part of the purchasing journey in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically kind of dynamic, you know, HTML website that is integrated in the existing kind of invoicing flows, where you can add, you know, upselling version. You can, you know, contact customer support directly in the invoice if you see something wrong. I mean, these type of things. And of course, I mean, kind of what we're talking about today, you can also kind of integrate a kind of a payment setup within it with different options and so on.
Yeah, I mean, it chimes so nicely with a theme that we talk a lot about at Tink as well, which is how can you turn payments into a source of competitive advantage for your business, right? Payments shouldn't just be an operation. And if we, as a company, as Tink, continually go out and just say to someone, hey, we're going to substitute one payment method for another, but we don't do anything else, what's the point, right? You've got to somehow improve that. You've got to make that change a source of something which is differentiating. And this is what I love about this, right? You're kind of taking this technology that we have on PIS and open banking and kind of PSD2 and all the rest of it. You're taking that, you're coupling it with a bit of, you know, new product from your side, and you're using that to come up with something which is really, really unique, right?
Exactly.
And it sounds great.
Yeah, and another point on that is what you said, kind of to add on that, is that what we're basically doing here is putting everything, all of that new stuff, and then, you know, putting it in something that already are in place at these big companies. I mean, you know, they don't need to kind of change their kind of core systems. They don't need to change the marketing. They don't need to change the processes. It's basically, you know, taking open banking and this dynamic visibility and just putting it in the existing invoicing process. And I think that's a kind of a big kind of perk with this type of setup, basically.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of some top. I mean, you guys have got some big names, but if I think about like a Telia, for example, or a Coop, or kind of some of your really big, substantial customers, like, what's in it for them overall? So you've built this new landing page, but like, how are you? I mean, Andreas, this is kind of your job, right? How are you pitching this to them?
I think our main what we are pitching when we're talking about the account-to-account is that basically what we can see with the account-to-account is that you have the e-invoice. And what the e-invoice is missing is the flexibility of the card payment. So what we actually have done is, or what we do with the product is that we can mix the flexibility you have in the card business and the card payments with the e-invoice. So it doesn't only be transferred to your bank where you actually need to pay it. We can make these links that we make, the payment links we get, we can put it into the app, we can put it in as a QR code, we can distribute it by SMS, or we can distribute it by email. And with the latest one we are working with is also with the e-commerce, because there we now can see changes in legislation. We can see, for example, in the Norwegian market, it has opened now. They are opening this April with what's called real-time payments. And I mean, the user scenarios here is just opening up every time. So I think also when it comes to this customer journey, where we can put the payment links inside of the app. And I think that's opened up a lot of new industries for us. Because, for example, if you go to the energy industry, they haven't been developing solution with the cards because of the average amount they are paying will be quite high. So I think that we can now enable them to use more information into their apps than before. That's a real game changer for that industry. Because it's all about for them to have their consumers or their customers to actually use their app. So they can see new products there, have an interaction with them.
And just to add to that, kind of connect what I said before, I mean, all of that you said in the kind of existing integrations and flows that already are there. And I think, I mean, that is a big USP for these type of customers. I mean, talking about the big telecoms and so on, they don't have the kind of quickest way of, transferring around their IT and their setup and so on. So I think it's a big use of kind of bringing the new into the old in this.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, right? So kind of almost across all those different channels, whether it's SMS, whether it's a physical printed invoice, whether it's something in an app, you're able to embed exactly the same payment. And actually in every single one of those experiences, the consumer experience is better than what they do today. Exactly. Right? I mean, imagining scanning a QR code and just getting popped straight into your bank app, well, your bank ID in Sweden, but you can imagine that experience where you're scanning, Face ID, payment is authenticated, I'm done. No typing in numbers, nothing else, right? That's a massive upgrade on the consumer experience.
And I think also what's the most important part with the QR, because that's we are printing on the invoices, the physical invoices. And in that solution, we have added what we call the opt-in solution.
Exactly.
So there they can register their electronic address, for example, the mobile phone or email, and then we can subscribe them. So we will send the next time they will get a digital, and not on the physical part.
So you're also saving some money in terms of printing paper and things like
and
that.
if you also look at the payments you have with the email and the SMS, you will see that there usually you send like this PDF. And then you need to open the PDF, you need to copy it and then put it into your internet bank. But here you get the link, so you will pay it more flexible, because then it's all pre-filled into your internet bank. So it's easier also for the consumer.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm a consumer, and it's got easier for me. The merchant, maybe there's some cost benefit, but also I'm able to use this same payment method across all these different markets and across all these different channels. Yeah. Sounds like a winner. So I guess where are we at, right? Are we going to see this in the wild anytime soon?
I mean, to be honest, I mean, this is of course a collaboration between us and you in partnership, and we are live currently in 2 of the Nordic countries. We're live in Sweden and Norway with a number of kind of big customers of ours, and we expect to have quite a few more of these. Live in the coming month as well, and I would say, we are looking into the rest of the Nordics as well. I think Finland is the first one coming here somewhere after summer, and then Denmark shortly after, basically. So quite soon we will have this in all of the Nordics, basically.
It's pretty exciting, because I think sometimes, the pay by bank as a payment method is talked about a lot, and we at Tink see a lot of this, obviously, because we're at the coalface, but sometimes, I feel like maybe people perceive open banking as not really being ready or not really out there, but kind of actually what you guys are saying, what we're seeing, is actually quite the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. And it should be clear, I think this is already in kind of our ecosystem and how we work. This is already live. We're working with some of our other partners on the kind of digital mailbox side, which is basically a kind of tri-partnership between you guys and other of your competitors, us and digital mailboxes. There's been live for quite some time and working fully. As I said, we have live customers, and we see, you're out actively working with our kind of big enterprise customers and seeing a lot of interest, right? So it's
really
this is already here, and it's really kind of coming forward.
Nice, excellent. And I guess long term. So what about kind of? Sounds like the next year and the next 2 years are pretty exciting. But how is this going to progress beyond that, do you think?
It's a good question, right? What's going to happen here? But what I think, first and foremost, the kind of most, self-explanatory part is that, what you said, the 40% physical and the digital part, that's, truly changes, right? I think we're going to, a couple of years now, that's going to be a kind of very low percentage. But looking at the rest of that, I think, basically what's going to start happening with this is that the consumers are going to kind of put a little bit of kind of higher requirement and the kind of ideas around how they want to kind of pay, right? And all of these, you know, smoothness, simplicity they are used to in the e-commerce world, I think they're going to expect also when it comes to invoices. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of a focus on kind of choice on where and how to pay and make it non-complex and so on. And I also think that kind of the idea around the invoice is probably going to be a bit more blurry in the future, right? It's, I mean, what's an invoice? It's really a delayed payment, right? So that's going to be a bit more blurred out in the coming years, I think.
I think what's the important thing with the account-to-account solution here is the speed of innovation.
Yeah.
And that's because only in this 1 year we have been working together, there has been a lot of changes. For example, the quality of the APIs with the banks, which we have, are much better. Just in 1 year time, it's better. And I also think that for the next year, we will see this. What is the market is really demanding for is the recurring payment.
Yes.
So a solution for the recurring payment, I think that will be really something that will open up the market even for more transactions than we have today.
Yeah, I mean, even since I've been at Tink, you know, there were markets that, you know, 2 years ago at Tink, we would say absolutely don't go to those markets. The APIs are not ready. No. Now, quite the opposite, and we see significant volumes. It's very hard to put a pin in the ground on what we do because it's moving forward so quickly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I also think that if you talk about the partial payments part,
I
think that
payments, partial payments, recurring payments, you know, all of these things are,
And I think also that the user experience will just get better and better over time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Yeah, definitely.
Exciting times. And the discussion on what exactly is an invoice, I think that could be a topic for a webinar in its own right.
Yeah, exactly.
Professor Mattias is Very good. Okay, well, I think that's all we have time for today. So thank you both very much for coming to join us.
Absolutely.
And of course, thank you for the partnership as well, right? We couldn't ask for a better relationship than we have with PostNord, and excited to see where this takes us over the next few years. But thank you everyone for watching, and follow our channel for more updates. Thank you.